Okay, I'm going to use a handheld mixer rather than a whisk. A lot of people would use a whisk, but I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to start beating the egg whites. Then when I'm done, I go right into the egg yolks. Now the sugar I have weighed out, and I just weighed all the sugar for the recipe, and you just pour about 2/3 of it, half of it to 2/3 into the egg whites, and you'll see how I do that. The remaining sugar then goes into the egg yolks. In the classic old recipes, the majority of the sugar would go into the egg yolks. You'd make a very stiff ribbon as you beat the egg yolks, and the egg whites would just get a little tiny bit of sugar to help stabilize the foam. But today, the modern pastry chefs in France are all really doing it this way. The majority of the sugar into the whites, which makes a meringue, and then just a little bit of sugar into the egg yolks. And I just do it by eye. I have here my 7 ounces of sugar, and we're just going to measure it by eye. So here we go. Slowly increase the speed as the egg whites begin to break up. Now, if we were making the egg whites in a non-copper bowl, when the egg whites look like this is when you would add your cream of tartar. Okay, now I'm going to start adding about 1/2 to 2/3 of the sugar. I'm adding it very, very slowly. I'm going to save the remainder of the sugar along with the egg yolks. Okay, so we have a really beautiful stiff egg white foam, and you can see the peaks hold really nicely on the beaters. Now I'm going to go right into the bowl with my egg yolks. You don't have to clean the beaters or anything, so it makes it really easy to do this part of the recipe. And same thing here, increase the speed slowly, and then just gradually add the remaining sugar. The egg yolks will become lighter in color. They become almost lemony color, and they thicken slightly, but you don't get a very heavy ribbon forming. Okay, so all the sugar's been added. And you can see there's a light ribbon that forms when the egg yolks fall back on themselves. They hold their shape for about a second. Okay? So now we're ready to add the vanilla. I make my own vanilla with cognac. And what I'm going to do is, with the mixer running, add my vanilla right to the egg yolk mixture. Okay, now we're ready to quickly fold all these ingredients together. We're going to put the egg yolk mixture over the egg whites, give it 2 folds, and then we're going to put the sifted dry ingredients on top, fold it all together, then turn it out into our pan. But before we do that, what we'll do is add the butter and the warm milk. It's actually heavy cream. So here we go. I'm taking all of that beautiful, very light yolk component, scrape it right into the copper bowl with the egg whites, and literally just give it 2 folds. Okay, a fold is going into the center of the bowl, coming up the side, and turning everything over. Now just take all of the dry ingredients at once, and then what we're going to do is fold that into the batter. So you can see I'm just moving the bowl. It's good to keep the bowl moving as you're doing your folding. And you can see how dark and rich this batter is because of the amount of cocoa. Again, in the old days, there would have been probably just a couple of tablespoons of cocoa powder in this kind of a biscuit. But here, it's actually the biggest part of the dry ingredients is cocoa. Now you want to make sure you're scraping the whole bowl really well so that everything is blended, but you want to work quickly because it's important that you do not deflate the mixture. Now I have the hot cream and butter. Just take some of the batter, put it right into the hot mixture. Then I take a whisk, and we're not really whisking it. What we're doing is blending it just to get the fat, the butter, and the heavy cream incorporated into that little bit of batter. So it's about 1/3 of the batter. Okay, and now we are going to pour this. I like to pour it right over the batter, then scrape the pot, get every last bit of all that goodness into your batter, and then very quickly begin folding again. So what we want to do now is we want to make sure that the butter and the heavy cream are evenly distributed into the batter. Now we're ready to turn the batter into our cake pan and get it into the oven. The oven's been preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. just sensational, and it smells so good. I love the smell of the dark cocoa. It's just got this wonderful fragrance. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just spread our batter to a nice even layer. I know you're not supposed to do the raw egg thing, but boy, that batter is delicious. So chocolatey and so rich. Then give the pan about a 3-inch drop just to get out some of the excess bubbles, and right into the oven. I place the pan in the upper third of the oven. It'll take about 10 minutes for the sheet to bake. Okay, my timer has just gone off, and I'm going to bring the sheet cake out of the oven. Now, here's what you have to have ready. I've got my powdered sugar shaker, and I've cut a piece of white parchment a little bit bigger than the length of the cake. The long side of the cake is facing me. Here's what we do. Give a relatively light sprinkling of the powdered sugar over the surface. And this really helps the cake to not stick to the parchment. Now what I'm going to do is turn. I've picked it up, flip it over, and now we want to get the hot sheet pan. You might want to get a spatula or something to help you just lift the corner. There you go. Okay, so I have my cake. Now, immediately remove the piece of parchment that the cake baked on. And again, you can see the orientation here. The long part of the sheet is facing me. Now, what we're going to do is roll the cake into our roll, and we're going to chill it and cool it rolled up. There we go. And we're just going to put this aside and let it come down to room temperature. While we're doing this, we'll prepare the whipped ganache and the chocolate whipped cream fillings.